having a place to come. It's kind of like the show Cheers.
Yeah.
And I told Dad about the lyrics of that.
Yeah.
And he said, that's a church.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to go where you know your name.
Everybody knows your name. Yeah.
I don't know. I won't try to quote the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's what a church is. And just know they can meet people that care about them.
Yeah.
Right. And you're doing such a great job. And just the main thing is people are looking for. I think the number one battle people have today is loneliness.
Yeah.
And the perception that everyone else, I put a joke on my Facebook once.
Yeah.
Heaven will be what your Facebook Live is that you portray to everybody, And
we're putting up that front. Yeah.
Everyone thinks it's they're doing so well or whatever, or you give them a prayer thing for whatever, and I don't know. It's just, but having a place to come. It's kind of like the show Cheers.
Yeah.
And I told Dad about the lyrics of that.
Yeah.
And he said, that's a church.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to go where you know your name.
Everybody knows your name. Yeah.
I don't know. I won't try to quote the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it's what a church is. And just know they can meet people that care about them.
Yeah.
And, so.
And I think that's, again, in my brief time here, what I'm learning, one of the enduring qualities of Trinity. It's this big place, it's a big steeple, all of that. But, man, you walk in, and if you're here a couple weeks, someone's going to know you and be reaching out for you, and it's deeply relational, and that's an exciting thing. I grew up in this area. I grew up about an hour south of here in Kennedy, Texas, so we had all San Antonio TV, and so I was born the year y'all created this, or around there in 81, and so my whole life I grew up with Buckner Fanning. In my memory, it was like every commercial break, Buckner Fanning was there. By a hill country stream or something. And so that was deeply meaningful for me growing up. And we would come up to Living Christmas Tree a couple times, and so just you and your dad's enduring ministry far beyond even those impressions and even just the number of people who came to Trinity. Beyond that, it's still there's really not a week that goes by. So your dad retired like 25 years ago, right? Somewhere in there. And passed away a few years ago, and still, every week someone is going to tell me a very meaningful, personal Buckner Fanning story, in some way of that enduring ministry. It's just rare anywhere, a quarter century after we leave our jobs, are people still talking about us, and it says so much about you and your family and your dad that still happens.
Well, I'm honored, and he was even a better father than he was a pastor. And his phone number was in the white pages.
Really? Huh.
And there were times it was really good, and then there were times at 2 a.m. after closing time, he'd get some calls, and he had Jesus Christ call him a couple of times, saying, "I'm Jesus Christ." And Dad would, it's 2:15 in the morning. He's trying to sleep, and he goes, "Well, I am so glad you called. I want to see him. I prayed to you this morning about our financial situation and blah." And then he ended up talking to the guy, and Dad had a list by his phone of the cab companies.
Okay.
And he would call them, and that was just stuff no one ever knew. And the lady who came and just fell at the floor, and we were paisanos.
Yeah.
She started crying, and she goes, and I bought airtime like it.
Yeah.
I could get $5 TV spots from 1 to 5 in the morning because people are, if they're watching TV at 1 to 5, they are watching television.
Yeah.
They're not, it's not Jeopardy and you're cooking dinner or something. And this lady said, I had the gun to my head and I was going to kill myself. And you came on.
Yeah.
And you said, do not forget, do not give up. do not forget how Jesus Christ loves you.
Yeah.
And the next Sunday, she showed up and joined the church, and she put the bullet in his hand, and he used it as a paperweight.
Oh, wow. My goodness. I mean, yeah, that's the story right there. That's amazing. Yeah. And I think the gospel that your dad preached was the true gospel of that was ahead of its time, and so of grace and love, and there's no condemnation for those in Christ Jesus, lifting up everybody and their giftedness, men and women, others alike. That is, I think it was some in Trinity probably before your dad got here, but came to full fruition during those years,
Right.
and continues to shape us so powerfully. And I mean, I think when my candidacy was announced to come, my grandparents and others are like, "You're going to Buckner Fanning's church? Are you sure you're going there?" But it was so we joked about that a little bit, but I'm very grateful to live in that shadow, and to be able to continue some of that, and for you and your family, it's a very special thing.
I mean, I understand the shadow because I helped create. I grew up in the shadow. I helped create to my extent, and my best backhanded compliment ever. After I'd already been on the. Oh, and I can say, Dad and I both, when we both left Trinity. Yeah. We had spent over half of our life on the staff at Trinity Baptist Church.
Yeah.
Dad, 42 years. He was whatever, 70 something. And I was on staff 21 years, and I was 40, whatever. But I just to know that half of our life, not to mention just growing up here.
Yeah.
But the lady, one Sunday after being here about 10 years, she goes, "Steve, I just saw that you do these. I heard you do all those TV spots where I see Buckner on the Today Show."
Yeah.
And I go, "Well, yes." And she probably changed my diaper. She was, not then, but, when I was little. But, she was, knew me.
Yeah.
I was, but, I'm just a kid in her mind, and she said, she goes, "Well, they are so good." She goes, "I just want you to know they look like a professional did them."
You're always 17 in your hometown,
That's right. Yeah, exactly. But if it helped her, that's great. I said, "Well, thank you.
Thank you very much."
So it's pretty like Dad's. The last thing he had tape ministry, and to the late Tim Gressler, who ran the board. He passed away a few months ago. He would do 2,000 tapes a week. I still have 600 of them under my bed. Sermons on both sides, trying to get encoded, but you got to do them real time, and and so I put some on, like YouTube or some. Buckner Fanning's Scarecrows is one of my favorite.
Well, you've done a great job of posting some on podcasts on Apple iTunes or iTunes, other places. I'm sure I listen to them on iTunes, Apple Podcasts. And on YouTube and things, you can see some of the commercial spots. You can see sermons, and that's a wonderful way for the legacy to live on. And I know for me, I have loved being able to listen to some of your dad's, his voice and just his bearing, but the sermons themselves continue to preach well, and that's a mark of good preaching, to listen to it in different times, and there's that timeless message there. So I've been grateful for that. Yeah.
So, well, the church is grateful to have you, and
thank you.
And you say that, well, you're following in Buckner's. Well, Dad didn't, as you know, he hadn't preached before.
Yeah.
And he started Trinity. He was in a car wreck in 1963 and nearly killed him.
I've heard that story.
He should have killed him.
Yeah.
And he couldn't have any pain medicine or anything, and he was in intensive care 6 weeks, and his collapsed lung got hit by a truck and knocked out of the car. He went through things when you kind of hear about things about the lies when you're about to die that he's never shared publicly, but he has said to me, ever since then, my preaching changed because if I can handle that much pain, I can handle anything.
Wow.
And there was a man who went to visit him in the hospital, and Dad liked his ring, and he goes, "Oh, it's a cool ring. I made it in my garage." And after Dad got out of the hospital, the guy gave him the ring, and it's this one.
Oh, wow.
It's a Cairo symbol.
Yeah.
You can Google Cairo, CHIRHO symbol, which predates its first century symbol.
Yeah.
And this was made by James Avery.
Wow.
In his garage.
But in his garage. Wow.
It was the first one ever made, and he gave it to Dad.
Oh,
and whenever you
cool.
see anything of Dad on television,
yeah.
he has it on all the time.
That ring.
And so it's never coming off.
That is special.
And that needs
special in multiple ways. I mean, even without the James Avery, that's a very special thing. But now knowing what James Avery is, even more so.
Oh, I know.
How cool.
First daughter is named Avery. So.
Yeah. Oh, really? Well, Steve, thank you for sharing these stories. We may have to do this again sometime and get more of them. And we're grateful for you, grateful for your family, for y'all's lasting influence and continuing witness to us here at the church. And I'm grateful for your friendship. It's been a real joy to be able to meet you, get to know you a little bit, and look forward to getting to know you better in the days ahead.
It'll be great. You're doing a great job.
Thank
and
you.
they're fortunate to have you. And
thank you.
Great days are ahead.
I believe so. Friends, thank you for joining us so much. Please like and subscribe below. Please join us again for future conversations as we look at some of the high holy days of Trinity Baptist Church 75 years.